Welcome to this week's episode of MOAR Tech. I'm your host, Michael Amorgan. And this week we have with us our co-host, Viquel.
Hello.
How you doing today, Vicky?
I'm good. I got off from work not at 6 o'clock, so I'm good.
I know the reason why you haven't been a part of some of the more recent episodes is because you've been kind of busy. I know some people are probably wondering about that.
Yeah, I was busy with work.
Yeah. Life happens, folks. It happens. But yeah, so yesterday Google kind of had their developer conference known as Google I/O, and they typically, like a lot of other, well, I shouldn't say a lot of other, but the bigger name tech companies, when they have something like that, they typically start unveiling a lot of their plans and some things that they've already worked on and are unveiling for consumers. So with Google, they seem to have started this Apple-esque kind of thing where they do one event that's software-based and another event that's hardware-based. So we'll probably be seeing the Pixel 4 later on this year, or the Pixel 3a, which they showed off, but I don't know if they actually said like when it will be available. They talked about it a fair bit, but yeah, they didn't give any hardware specs, which is kind of weird. Just said that it was in line but more affordable, and they worked really hard to try and get it to that kind of price point of $399. Well, starting at $399, which
Super
is
cheap for a phone.
for a flagship phone nowadays. Yeah.
Yes.
And especially since it pretty much has all the features that the 3 does.
And more.
And more.
Let's not forget that headphone jack.
Yes. They brought back the headphone jack, which was, albeit a bit surprising considering how they've staunchly left headphone jacks alone for like 2 years now. So it makes me wonder if they're going to do that for the Pixel 4. Or they're going to backtrack. What do you think, Vicky? Like, I know we've had our back and forths about headphone jacks and everything like that, but what do you think Google's gonna do?
I don't know. Like, this is the first company I've seen, like, really, minus Samsung with the memory card slot. But this is the first company I've actually seen that went like backtracks to adding a feature. But I guess it's also for persons who because it's in such an affordable price range, those persons never really got invested into the whole no headphone jack portions. Like, if like price range like that, some person probably still using like an iPhone 6 or iPhone 6s also. So like, they never really got to experience the whole loss of headphone jack to do. So I guess that's why they kept it on the smaller, well, the Pixel 3.8. 3.8. That's it, right?
Yeah, it's the
3.8.
3A, which
Yeah.
is kind of weird because it's like it's very close to like the iPhone whatever C and like whatever like the other names that they've given it.
Oh, 5C and then 10R.
Right. Granted, this isn't the first
What
time
does
that
the
they've
A
done
stands
stuff.
for? Affordable?
Maybe. But I mean, it's not uncommon for them to do something like this. Like, so for example, I think this is the first time they've had it with the Pixel line, but with the Nexus line, which was the predecessor of the Pixel. They had it with like P, like the Nexus 6P and stuff like that. But it's kind of, I think this is the closest they've came to the letter A, well, the letter C, I should say, and Apple's like cost-effective version, and this is Google's affordable version, I guess. So I don't know. I'll be interested to know like what the hardware specs are compared to. Say something like my phone, which is like this is a Google Pixel 2 XL, but this is from like 2 years ago. Well, almost 3 years ago now.
Yeah, I forgot you didn't get the 3. Wow.
Yeah, it wasn't like, it's a very expensive phone, and it wasn't offering me like that much more. So I just held back, and I don't know. I don't even know if I'm going to get the Pixel 4 this year. Like, it depends on what all I have with this Pixel, like, comparatively to the Pixel 2 XL.
Phones are not like at this price range that we hitting with phones. Honestly, like a flagship phone could last me a couple months. I mean, couple years. I can't be purchasing new phones every year at this high price range.
Exactly. You could maybe do it when they're like $400, $500, but now they're at like
Yeah.
$1,000. And, well, that's the price of a laptop, for example. And you don't swap out your laptops every year. You swap them out every 2, 3, maybe 4 years. So phones are going to be the same kind of thing. And that's why I think a lot of these phone companies have started to try and be a little bit more innovative. And then now you have people trying to make them more affordable, which has been Samsung's whole thing with their smart and affordable devices. Did I say smart? They're small and
Yes.
affordable devices. That was a slip of the tongue. But yeah, so then you have Apple and now Google. But Google started off so well with the Nexus line. Like, those were really affordable devices, and they packed a lot of power into them. Post a Hoax says that they bet my potatoes are super soft. You know what? I think my potatoes are super soft too. Thank you. I'll share some with you. But yeah, so there were a lot more things, and that was more of the hardware side of things, which was a little surprising that Google even mentioned the Pixel. But getting on to the software side of stuff. Oh, on a scale of North Korea to America, how free am I tonight? You know, I'm actually kind of not so free. I have the show, then I have gym, and then I'm probably gonna be dead after gym because my muscles are gonna be like sore. But who knows? I might make some time for you. You're that special. But let me stop. Oh my gosh. Okay. So they kind of started things off with Google search, then went on to Assistant Lens and some other stuff. But let's start off with search. Now they started off with some interesting things with it. For starters, they're going to be rolling out AR into search. So, for example, if I'm looking up something, and their examples were both a diagram of the human muscle flexing. And so what they did was they searched for that. It showed up as a 3D model on Google search. They could then click onto that, and then it opens it up into a AR version that you can place anywhere, so you can actually see it moving, almost like if it was a real thing. Then they also then went into doing a great white shark, so that you can get the scale of how large it actually is. And those suckers are very large. Trust me. But I think they're like 15 feet long, 15 to 17 feet long at their biggest. You didn't know that.
No.
Let me confirm that really quick. Great white shark. Of course, it's gonna say great white shark, Bahamas. So yeah, the females are apparently longer than males. So let's see, 6.4 meters to feet is 20.99 feet. Okay. Oh, okay. I'm a big fella now. So, Post a Hoax asks the question: why does the big fella look like the type of person to lick their fingers before turning the page in the book? You know, that may actually happen.
I could see you doing that.
I could see me doing that too. It depends though. Like, it really and truly depends, because if I'm trying to turn the pages and the page isn't turning, then I'll do it. But typically I'll just like turn the page normally, like a regular human being. Me, I'm 29. Vicky, I don't know if you should be asking a woman her age.
Oh, I'm 23.
Well, there you go. She's telling you. How old are you, post a hoax? Um, right. Oh, you're 17. Nice.
Oh,
Welcome to the
you
stream.
goober.
I was like, did you just call him a goober?
Yeah, you goober. I remember when I was 17.
Oh, we're going through nostalgia lane now, folks. Back when you were in high school, going through
Yeah.
things.
I think I was graduating around that time. I think I was in grade 12.
Yeah, yeah. At least I know I was as well. So, yeah, I can see that. Post says you could end the stream and come over. I have great treehouse we could play in. Ah, that is a tempting offer. Very tempting, but we do have to get on with this episode. But, maybe after gym, I can swing by. Your tree. Right. So they then said that they will be bringing podcasts and full coverage news to search later this year as well. So in case you're looking for more cookies or the MOAR Tech or more our Esports Wrap episode in Google, the podcast will probably show up, which is a good thing because then you can click on it and then start to listen via Google Podcasts. They're also going to be enabling you to use Google Lens in Google search, like I mentioned with the 3D models. Google Lens will also be doing things to highlight menus. So, for example, if you're at a restaurant and you're not sure what the popular option is at the menu, you can use Google Lens, hover it over the menu, and it'll use information that's gleaned from Google search and what people would recommend using Google's rating systems and stuff like that. Then, highlight the ones that are suggested or more popular. So you have a less chance of, getting something bad. They're going to also enable you to... What do you think, Vicky?
Oh, I was going to say, and you can also see your pictures of your food.
That's true. Yes, you can see what it looks like. Which, especially at these places that only give you words and you have no idea what this thing is. And it's really great when you're traveling overseas and everything's in a completely different language, which of course you can use Google Lens, translate the language, but you still may not know what it looks like, especially if it's something that you've never had before. So, yeah. Imagine ordering escargots and thinking that it's some kind of like beef. That would not be pleasant. But they're also going to be enabling you to do things like splitting checks as well. So you can just have the receipt, use Google Lens. It will tally up the receipt, add up to, the different taxes and stuff like that, along with tip, and split it however many ways that you want it to split it. And of course, some more things like if you are looking up a recipe, you can use Google Lens and it'll actually bring the recipe to life. So essentially, it'll show you someone preparing it. And I'm guessing that's only going to work with certain websites. Because having someone actually prepare that for all the different recipes just doesn't sound feasible. Now, like I mentioned, they're bringing the translate feature into Google Lens as well when you do searches, so that you can translate stuff and it'll actually read it out loud, both in the language that it is currently in, along with the language that you're translating it to. So that's neat, and I think something that they didn't do before. And then they're going to be enabling Google Assistant driving mode, which seems a little redundant because there's Android Auto, which is an app that you can install on your Google phone, your Android, and it pretty much gives you the same information that would have done, so on and so forth. So I'm not sure why they're doing it. It just seems kind of weird to me. Yeah, no, because yeah, I don't get it. I was thinking maybe it was for iPhones, but I think you guys can get Android Auto as well. I'm not sure.
I don't know. Let me check.
Now, while Vicky's checking that, they're also going to be bringing Google Duplex, which is currently out in 48 states, but it's only in this US. So, where you can place in an order, place in a reservation at a restaurant. They want to also
OTTO. Is
over
that
the top?
it?
No. Auto.
Oh,
Okay, so
it's actually AUTO.
Yeah.
Okay.
What they want to enable it to do is to allow you to book things like movies and rent a car and stuff like that. And they will actually fill in the information required for something like that. So
it's like an autofill.
Yeah, it's very much like an autofill. It's an autofill.
Yeah.
Because like you're not really entering anything. You just say that you want to do it. It opens up the website. It knows which kind of car, like if you're getting a car, renting a car, for example, it picks up on the kind of car that you got last time, and tries to get a similar car or something very or the same car if it can, and then it will like put in all that information, put in your information, have you confirm it. So that's pretty much the only step you do, aside from saying, I want this car, confirm it. It gives you the information, and then pays for it, and there you have it. Like that's pretty much it.
We don't have Android Auto.
So so maybe that's the reason why they're building it up, so people who are on iPhones can then use Android Auto, because Apple doesn't have something like that for iPhones. They have CarPlay, but that's something separate and apart in a sense, which is built into the car, or like something that you can attach to the dash, but it's not like on your phone as an alternative to save money. Or am I wrong?
No, it's not on your phone. It's on the car on your, or something you can purchase to attach to your dash.
Right. Okay. They also have it where they can cancel alarms from Google Assistant just by saying stop. So, for example, if I was to say to my Google, hello G, set alarm for 6 a.m. See, I remembered not to say, hello Google. It will try to, next morning it'll try to wake you up for 6:30. And then you'd have to say, hey G, cancel, or hey G, stop, or something like that. Now you just can say stop. And that seems to be the thing what they're trying to go forward with. So
there's one that you could just wave. Oh wait,
that's the Google Home.
The Home.
Sorry, the Nest Home.
Google Nest Home. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nifty.
So all their Google Home stuff is now Nest Home. Like they're moving everything that's like smart home related into the Nest family, which was a smart move in my opinion, and something that I think they should have done from the beginning, especially since they were leveraging Nest from the time they bought them. And then they actually started. Yeah, then they brought up these other things like Google Wi-Fi, Google Home, so on and so forth, and like it's like, why not just call it Nest? Like that's your hardware line for home stuff. But like I was saying, like they also have it to where you can actually have conversations with Google. So you started off, and instead of saying like, hey G, tell me what the weather is, you can just say like, what's the weather? What about where mom is? Set a reminder. And so you can say like something completely unrelated without having to then follow up with it with a hello G, and move on like that. Which, in my opinion, I think that's the way it probably should have been. It's a little bit more intuitive. But I think that's because of how they worked with their neural engines and the machine learning that they did with linguistics, which, if I remember correctly, they said it was 100 gigs that it would use to search through to try and figure out exactly what you were trying to say, and they like shrunk it down to 0.5, so like half a gig or something like that. I could be wrong, but I believe that was it. And so that allows you to then have it on your phone so it can search much faster and, be a little bit more, with the machine learning stuff that's on these phones, be more intuitive and learn better. Which, I mean, that's neat. Using that same technology, they're also working with other things that you're going to be doing with Androids, like Google Keyboard or Gboard. I noticed when I updated to the latest version of Android beta, which is beta 3, the keyboard kind of changed. It looks a little different and is a bit more correct. And so I'm wondering if what they did was that they actually rolled out what they announced at I/O, where it learns from different people within certain regions as to like how they type, sends it up to the cloud, the machine learning processes it, and then updates everyone's phones with that correct like how you say things in that area, which I think is a really neat way to go about it.
Pretty interesting.
Yeah, like, who knows, one of the options eventually for the Bahamas may be Buddy.
Yeah, so that you don't get autocorrect by Bahamian slang.
Exactly. Or any slang to wherever you might be residing. And actually, I wonder if that will be, how that will be tying in. Is it going to be using location, or is it going to be using Google Play? Because, a lot of people register themselves as the United States, even though they're in another country.
Guilty.
I'm guilty too. Like, I want my features, and like,
Yeah, I want all the good stuff, and you don't get the good stuff, yeah.
So, like, I'm wondering how that's going to work. I know they have the ability to lock it out based on location, by like how they check it with like the telcos, how you connect to the internet and everything like that, and then make sure that your location is where you actually are. But I don't know. They could make it simple and do otherwise. We'll have to see over time. The next thing was that they, for some reason, are putting Google Maps and giving it incognito searches. That just seems shady. Like, why do you need to not have your search history for somewhere?
Maybe you like go into like the strip club or something, and you don't want your wife to know.
That's shady. Like, that's shady. Like, I don't get that. That I don't know. They also announced something called Project Euphonium, which is an effort to personally understand the speech impaired. And their thing is to make all voice interactive devices be able to understand any person speaking to them. And so there's a number of different things that they've done, and Google and Apple have done a lot in recent times when it came to the impaired. So with this, for example, in this I/O, they've done it where if you are hard of hearing, for example, if you're watching a video, it will use they'll use this phone to then give you information about and create closed captions for the video that you're watching. It can be something on WhatsApp, it could be YouTube, it could be just something you're watching maybe on Facebook. It'll understand that. It's a setting that you can apparently turn on, but it hasn't been activated yet. And it'll give you closed caption as to what it's saying that is being said in the video, which can also be beneficial if you're in a meeting and you want to watch a video too. You don't have to be auditorially impaired to use something like this. Um, there, in terms of Euphonia, though, they last year showed a someone using a Morse code input for Gboard, complete with word predictions. Euphonia is designed to personalize speech recognition and other nonverbal communications for those with speech impairments of any kind. Some of the demonstrations that they showed were included a personalized voice recognition model for a deaf man with slurred speech, another man who is restricted to typing one letter at a time through eye movements. Kind of like, I think there was some other one. There was someone who was like that before. I don't remember the name. But there are a lot of other ones, so they're building out and fleshing systems for those types of persons who need something like that so they can actually communicate. That's also one of the reasons why they are doing the whole auto translate thing with Google Lens, because they understand that there are a lot of people in the world that don't know how to read properly, but they can, they can speak and like talk, have a normal conversation, but they can't read. And sure, while that's something that over on this side of the world, for the most part, I'm not going to say everywhere,
It's
it's
very common over here.
I mean, granted, it's a lot less than it used to be, but it's still somewhat common. Where people just didn't go to high school, like they never actually finished their school curriculum, and they left to go either deal with family or make a living for themselves or so on and so forth. And so things like that suffered. With Google Lens and the translate feature, they can hold it up to something and it can actually relay what's being spoken, well, what's on it, and speak it to them so they can understand what it is. At Google I/O, they used an example of a woman in India. She has 2 kids, and she does not really know how to read, and it's hard for her to help her kids or even know what their grades are. Using Google Lens, however, she's able to use that, and it will read it and say it out loud as to what it is, what the grades are, what the ingredients are inside this thing, so on and so forth. Now she's actually able to use it and like get train tickets, because now she can go up to the thing and do it. She can now use an ATM, and so it's things like that which are beneficial for someone like that. And then of course, this is Google, so they're trying to make things easy for everyone on a whole. So they brought up other things like with Google Calendars, you're now able to, when you're making an event in Google Calendars, then it's going to allow you to see your schedule using something called bottom sheet view. It's essentially just going to, when you press the button and then the plus, and then you click event, it's going to keep it near the bottom of the screen so you can actually still see a good chunk of what's there instead of it taking up to the entire screen like it used to. You can also resize it inside Android or iPhone or wherever it is, and like make the time slots bigger, smaller, so on and so forth, and do pretty much everything that you would have been able to do before in a bit less space, a little bit less having to click through things to see and move through it, which I think is decent. They also enabled digital well-being, which is something that's still kind of in beta testing for Android. Now, what that does, it's enabling certain new features. One of them is called focus mode, and that's something that enables distracting apps and enables parental controls on the device, which is something that a lot of parents, I think, have been looking for. It looks like you have this like smirk that you want to let out come.
Yeah.
Were you a bad kid when it came to your phone, Vicky?
No, not really. But I didn't have a phone until grade 6, and it was like a handy down, and it was still one of those. Oh man, I can't remember what the keyboard type they're called. Anyway, but
QWERTY?
no, it
Was
wasn't a QWERTY.
uh
It's like the old ones like what they have on the phone on like the regular house phone. But you have to like if you want A, you have to press one. If you want B, you have to
oh, you
press
mean
twice.
the candy
Yeah,
bar ones?
yeah. It was like one of those, and clearly it wasn't a smartphone. So no. Yeah. And then back then I wasn't really on my phone often. I used to play a lot of game, so I
Mm.
used to be on my game. Mhm.
Oh gosh, I remember when like those can. I remember the old Nokia phone and like how
The
fun that
brick
was.
ones with
Uh
Snake,
yeah, with
or
Snake.
black and white Snake.
Yes, or green and slightly greener Snake. Depending on if the light was on or not. Um, wow, that was wow.
Those are the good
That's a
old
long time
days.
ago. But right, so they're introducing more enhanced controls. So focus mode is going to allow you to silence specific apps that you can find the most distracting or spend the most time within. So, for example, if you know that you end up reading webtoons, for example, late in the night, you can stop that from, giving you notifications to say, hey, this thing is updated, which I'm sometimes a sucker for, I'll admit.
Yeah,
Um,
you just let mine pile up.
uh, Another set is like things like Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. You know, especially when you get onto those, you can be scrolling for hours. Let's not even talk about YouTube. Uh, and then you're able to keep some applications open with it, like text messaging on the phone. Though you can kind of do something similar with Do Not Disturb, but this is a little bit more of a nuanced feature. They said, quote, since creating our set of digital well-being tools last year, we've heard that they have helped you take better control of your phone usage. In fact, app timers helped people stick to their goals over 90% of the time, and people who used Wind Down had a 27% drop in nightly phone usage. This year, we're going even further with new features like Focus Mode, which is designed to help you focus without distraction. You can select the apps you find distracting, such as email or the news, and silence them until you come out of Focus Mode. And to help children and families find a better balance with technology, we're making Family Link part of every device that has digital well-being, starting with Android Q. Plus, adding top requested features like bonus time and the ability to set app-specific time limits. So yes, from your phone, you can give your kids 5 more minutes on their phone playing Fortnite. They're also having it with other features. So there's this thing called Live Relay, where it has a live transcribed call with another person in the same way that Duplex works. So you're able to type custom messages or even use a smart reply to send a pre-composed quick reply, all based on the ongoing conversation. They say that that's still in research phases, and we may not see that this year, but they were just kind of letting us know that this is something that they're working on. They say that you don't need an internet connection, just like how you don't need it for the live caption. And so that opens it up to everyone around the world, and, it's probably going to correlate with the Project Euphonia system. Now, they also went into Android Q just a little bit, talking about we finally got system-wide dark mode. Finally, we don't have to turn on our phones and set them to battery saver to get system-wide, uh, you know, dark mode. It's just like something that we can quite literally turn on. I wonder if I forget. Yeah, so you have to go into settings, and I think you have to go into appearance, or just dark. Okay, theme. Okay, so let's see. Yep, so you go into display and then you click on theme and you can set it to light or dark. I have mine set to dark. They also have this interesting new way of managing like how you move through with Android. It's very iPhone-esque. I knew I would hear something from you when I said that. So they now have 3 ways to really move through Android. You have the 3 buttons at the bottom, so going back, going home, and then like a menu or the button to see all your different applications. You have the pill, which you can press to go home, or slide left or right to then move between applications. But it also has a back button on the bottom. And then you've got this one, which quite literally just has like this little thing right there that looks very much like how it is on the iPhone XR and XS.
And there's a little bar.
Yeah, the little bar. So for you, like you could probably see it like right there.
Yes, I see it.
Yeah. Crimbra is saying, is that Vix? I think they might know you, Vicky.
Oh, where do you know me from? Let me open up the Twitch chat.
Yes, Viquel is also from Nassau. And I'm not sure, like, only one person does call you Vix.
Oh, only one person's called me Vix?
VIXX.
VIX. I'm so confused.
Oh. You getting cussing your WhatsApp after this, I sure. Okay, so yeah, when it comes to that, it's going to be a little different than how we expect it. If nerds group, they're saying.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
There you go. So what happens is, if you want to move between apps, you can either slide like left or right to move between the apps, and so on and so forth. If you want to actually see what the apps are doing, like how many apps you have, you pull it up and hold it, and then you can slide across and whatnot. If you want to go back, so I'll go, here's in settings mode. There's no back button here. There's a back button up on top here. But if you want to go backwards, you slide from the side. And it could be, whoops, okay, did not mean to do that. Could be any of the sides, left or right, and it'll take you backwards. Which is something that I have not seen on any other phone before.
You know how annoying that is, like, cause how I'm so used to the iPhone, just like swiping fine, but it's super annoying when I go to use an Android and I have to manually tap the arrow to go back because I automatically think I just swipe and I'm fine. So
Like,
I'm glad that they add that feature for y'all. You will get so comfortable with that when you go to use another Android phone, you're gonna accidentally be swiping.
I was doing that when I had the pill. Like, I was just like sliding around left to right and like moving things around like that. This is just kind of like a little step in the other direction. But I was about to give up this mode because I did not know about the slide from the left or right. And it was like there were sections I was at where it would not let me like go back because like there was no arrow to say go back or anything like that. And so it was really disturbing. Like I would have to close out the app to then go back to where like at the beginning, which sucked. And so I'm like, you know what, let me just see if there's anything in there, because they actually do have descriptions of them and like what all and how to maneuver through them with so navigation. So we have it here where they actually show the 3 different versions of it. along with examples of what they look like. And they give descriptions. So, for example, this is called fully gestural navigation. And they say to go home, swipe up from the bottom of the screen. To go back, swipe from either the left or the right edge of the screen. To switch apps, start swiping up from the bottom of the screen and hold before releasing. For 2-button navigation, which is the pill and the back button on the bottom, they say to switch apps, swipe up from the home screen, swipe up again to see all apps. Works from any screen. You'll no longer have an overview button on the bottom right of your screen. And then there's the 3-1 with back, home, and then the overview button, like I mentioned earlier. So that was interesting. But also a little bit perplexing at times when I didn't actually realize that was it. So, yeah. That said, there was actually still more stuff that they announced about Android Q. So what they're doing is they've always had a problem where it comes to sending out an OS update to different vendors like Samsung, Xiaomi, Huawei, so on and so forth. And then those makers would then put on their custom versions of the software and then upload it. And that could take months before the end user actually gets it. And that's not even including if the carriers then want to make changes themselves. So what they're doing is that some of the more needed features of the operating system with Android Q, they're going to break it down and have it be updatable through the Google Play Store. So it's going to happen from there, and then you just click update. It updates that. You do not have to restart your phone. And that's a pretty neat way to actually go about it. They also noticed that, and they threw some shade that a lot of Android users actually like to throw at iPhone users, is that, a lot of smartphone features were first on Android. And they actually had it in the background, like a lot of different stuff, which I was surprised they threw that shade. But then again, Apple's been always been saying we pioneered this thing or this, that, and the next, and when all truth they just re-engineered something slightly, or they just put it out there again, and then the world goes wild.
They wait for it to progress over time, and then they introduce it again, and it's like, oh my gosh, look what Apple just added to that new product. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. They're also going to be having it where it's going to be supporting 5G. Android will support 5G. They say it will work natively with 20 plus carriers that are going to be releasing 5G networks in 2019. They're also going to be releasing and working with some of the carriers in more intimate ways, like releasing phones to them. So, for example, it's no longer just Verizon with the Google Pixel 3a. It's going to be Sprint, T-Mobile, I think it was Boost. AT&T, I think, is still strictly like iPhone kind of like territory. So on and so forth. They also noticed that with there are going to be 3 more major updates with Android Beta Q before the final release in the 3rd quarter of 2019. So right now there are some things that are broken. So for example, there are games that will quite literally crash when you try to open them. So if I go and try to open up Clash Royale, it closes automatically.
It didn't even make it to the load.
It doesn't even make it there. No, not at all. There are apps that if you log in with Facebook, you can get to the login screen, and then when you click login with Facebook, it crashes. Yep. But Facebook works just fine. So I don't understand that at all. Then there are also apps like AdBlock browser. So for example, if I wanted to go to adblock, adblockplus.org, their own website, I then get this error message saying unexpected response from server, saying that make sure my system has the personal security manager installed, and that this might be due to a non-standard configuration on the server. It's probably my device. So yeah, there are still things that are broken. On WhatsApp, for example, screenshots do not show up. They did before the update. So, for example, if I was to try and send... actually, you know what? I'm not going to do that because I don't know what people have been sending inside WhatsApp, and I'm not about to put that on there. Next thing you know, I have a bunch of sheiks running around in Super Smash Brothers on my screen. They're also going to be redesigning the Google Play Store for Android TV coming later this year. And they say that Android TV Q...
store for Android TV coming later this year, but it either isn't available or can't be played right now.
I did not say anything to turn you on. Cancel.
Sorry, I'm not sure how to help.
Okay. Thank you, Google. You can shut off now. Thank you. Good. They were saying that Android TV Q update does not need to be on the same timeline as Android Q. So when Android Q comes out, it doesn't necessarily mean that Android TV Q will come out at the same time. When it comes to the Nest Hub Max, which is their new version and a bigger version for the living room area, that pretty much does everything that the Google Hub did already, just on a bigger screen. It's now going to allow you, like Vicky was saying earlier, to wave to do things and so on and so forth. So if I read this right, this is a 10-inch Google Assistant screen that offers the same functionality as the Google Home Hub. It's going to, but also has better speakers, a camera for video calls, home security, and facial recognition. And it's going to be launching in the summer for $229. They also said that, they revamped everything. And yeah, so that's pretty much covering it. Was there... I don't think I missed anything.
No, I don't feel like you did.
And we did that in half the time that they had that conference. Because that was like a 2-hour conference. We did that in a little less than an hour. I feel accomplished. But yes, so that is it for this episode of MOAR Tech. I'd like to thank our viewers for stopping by and being a part of the conversation. Post a hoax, I still may swing by and, play in your treehouse. You can see how soft my potatoes are. Let me stop. I'd like to thank my co-host for coming on as well. So thank you,
welcome.
Vicky. I know it's been rough with time recently.
Yeah, the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. So if you've missed any part of this episode, guys, don't forget you can head over to MOAR Cookies, MOARcookies.com, and watch any of our past episodes, or just listen to the audio versions. They're podcasts. You don't have to go to our website for that. You can also just look them up on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher. This weekend, I'm probably going to try and work on SoundCloud. If not, then I'll probably be saying that again next week. But Esports Wrap, our sister show, will be on next week Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This show, MOAR Tech, will be back at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursday next week. And if you want to be a part of any of our conversations, feel free to hit us up on Twitter at MOAR_cookies, or join in our Discord, which is linked below this video. if you're on YouTube or Twitter or Mixer. Yeah. Until next time, guys.
Take care. Oh wait, no, you changed it.
Uh,
Okay.
keep it savvy. But I like the way you did it. Later.